We're willing to bet that the SimCity series has turned people onto and off of a career in civil engineering. Sure, it's fun molding an empty swath of real estate into the well-oiled metropolis of your dreams. It's not so fun when disasters hit and try to revert your beautiful city into a land before time. Quadropolis is a light board game that reflects the more positive aspects of SimCity. As long as you're careful in real life, nothing should catch fire here. Up to 4 players compete by placing apartments, offices, factories, parks, and other features into their individual cities, hoping to score the most points by game's end. Here's a basic look at how it works. This is the construction site full of buildings that you'll take turns drafting. On your turn, you're going to take a particularly numbered architect and point it at a certain row or column. In this case, I have architect 3. So this allows me to claim building 1, 2, 3. As I grab this building, I will take the associated resources, 2 energy in this case. And the architect I use also dictates where I can place this building. So architect 3 means I'll have to place it on column or row 3 over here. In this case, stick it right here. And the resources that I've claimed will also help me activate these buildings later. So to win this game, of course, you're going to have to build your city very carefully. In this case, I'll give you a couple instances of how to score some of these buildings. Shops, for instance, will score points based on how many people you can stick into them so you can make money. Parks are going to score points when they're next to buildings, since buildings are full of people that will go to these parks. And the harbor that I just placed here scores best when I can build a long row or column of harbors. So most points wins, and the base game comes with this basic mode here that has 6 buildings. It also comes with an expert mode on the back. And the expert mode comes with a much bigger grid to build on and 2 additional building types. For this review, we also added on the separately sold public services expansion. This comes with several score-enhancing buildings such as police stations, city halls, and schools. Now let's see what the Going Analog reviewers think.
All right, guys, thanks for coming over. We're gonna do a special 3-part series, and you guys are gonna be helping me out with this because we're reviewing 2 different games that remind us of SimCity. So people have to stay tuned for the next couple episodes, but first, let's start with Quadropolis from Days of Wonder. But first, Anna, you've been on the show before. You work on Double Fine, so thanks for stopping by. You're one of our regular reviewers. Jess, this is your first time on the show. We're co-workers at a unnamed video game company. I'm not supposed to be talking about where I work, but you're in the video game industry, and you're one of my #1 board game friends. Like, we play board games all the time.
Yep.
Sometimes at work. So we played a bunch of games of this. The next game we're going to review, Between Two Cities. But let's start with Quadropolis from Days of Wonder. Anna, what did you like about this game?
So the thing I really love, I mean, of course, I'm a big fan of city building games, and so #1, I like the theme, of course. And then I also really like the art in it. Like, I think they did a really, really nice job in making all the pieces, kind of like, I mean, this is a very basic sort of compliment, but the art really makes you want to play the game. Like, the pieces are nice. Like, I love these things. Like, I kind of want to eat them when I look at them and
Don't
things
eat
like
them.
that. But that's a compliment. I mean that as a compliment. When I play games, I want to eat all the pieces, but only when they're well made, and this game has nice pieces. I do really like the amount of thought and the amount of crossing of strategies that you have in this game.
Like, how so?
The fact that, so you have these grids on the board. I really love the idea that you can vertically stack, for instance, towers to get around some of the restrictions. Like, you might have constrained yourself too much by using up all of the spaces here, but you still have this one trick up your sleeve. Actually, my favorite thing about this game is I love the fact that things have to operate the buildings. And so, when you buy pieces, you get these little resources, but they're really, you need to think about that as well. And that was probably my favorite thing about the game, is the fact that I had a certain amount of people. It was like, oh no, I have too many. I have to buy some shops. Like, okay, cool. And I really like that.
Oh, how about you, Jess?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what Anna said about the production value, I just love everything about the game in terms of the production value. The art isn't over the top, it's clean. All the iconography and the color coding really helps with teaching the game and playing the game.
This is coming from a designer.
Yeah, and so and the acrylic pieces, you're not used to acrylic meeples or resources, and so this was a nice touch to add to the sort of the paper pieces here.
And also the insert, by the way, is
Yeah.
super nice. Like all these tiles fit in there perfectly.
Yeah, and Days of Wonder, tends to have really good inserts and production value overall, and so it's not a surprise with Quadropolis that it's this well done. So on top of the production value, just the design of the game is very elegant. Just everything about it seems buttoned up in terms of how the turns work, the management of resources and how you're using those resources and all your pieces. Everything about the game is balanced. Like there's so many things to do, like Anna said, but you can't do it all. And that's something I learned in the first game I played was, you can't do everything, otherwise you're just spreading all your resources out in too many places. And depending on how the pieces come out on the board, that really affects your initial strategy and where you're going to go in the game, at least in the first couple of rounds. And so yeah, I just love the fact that the game makes you make tough decisions, whether it be grabbing a certain type of piece or how you're spending your resources, because you can't gain too many of them, but you can't not gain enough of them. So
yeah, because you can lose points for all the extra resources or people that you don't use at the end of the game. Yeah, and I think totally agree with you, and I love the art because it pops. It's really colorful, but it's not childish. So it's really inviting, and I like the tying this back to SimCity. I like that, similar to SimCity, you want to build out in zones, right? You have your commercial zones, your residential zones. So in this game, you're like, oh, I want to put the residential area next to the park because that raises the value of the park or the buildings. People want to go shopping, so you want to make commercial districts. So if you like SimCities, I think this is a really good fit. And the one thing I like about this board is this is like what, to your point, Jess, like the making decisions about which buildings to draft. This part gets agonizing sometimes because when you move this thing blocks what row or column that you can pick. So you're accidentally going to block somebody all the time, and it's going to drive them crazy. But it's really fun to oh man, which of these architects do I save for what row, for what column, because I really need that building. So I think that's probably my favorite part about the game is trying to decide which tile you're going to draft from the construction site. And we play 3 different ways for this game too. There's a classic mode, which you see here. On the backside, we play the expert mode, which has more buildings. And then we also played with the expansion, public services, which adds more scoring options. Did you guys what did you guys like about the different modes? Which was your favorite? Which is your preferred way of playing? Anna?
So I really like the expert mode, and the reason for that is because I love, like I mentioned earlier, I love the stacking thing. And then in the expert mode, there's a kind of a tower, the office towers. That was just another. So in addition to apartment towers, you also have office towers. I also like the fact that you had a common pool of these workers. So for the expert mode, they flip. And I like that I would kind of paint myself into a corner a little bit too often with these, because you only have 4 of them in the normal version, and if you use a particular number and that's the one you need, you kind of blocked yourself off. You can't really do that as often when you have the pooled resources. So for some reason, I like the expert mode more because it felt like that restriction was a little bit looser.
How about you, Jess?
Yeah, I liked all 3 modes with the standard and the expert, and adding this expansion here. I don't think either version takes away from the game itself. I did like the expert mode better just because there was more to do, and with the expansion as well. So I guess I like everything all at once because there's just more to do and creates more tough decisions. The other things I liked about having more decisions to make is that it almost brings a push your luck element to the game, because you'll see what other people are drafting into their cities, which is part of the interaction. You're trying to see what other people are building, because then you start getting competitive over certain buildings or things that you're trying to build. But then you'll see maybe you're last that round and the piece that you need is all gone. You're kind of banking on that it's going to show up the next round, that you're going to be able to get it that next round. And then the other part of it is just having the different options, these what are these,
the public services.
Public services, yes, the public services, having the option to choose one of these in the expansion as opposed to taking the one from the board. That's a really cool thing.
I love this expansion. When I bought it, I'm like, this is it, just a few more tiles. But I love that decision making because then we might be not just competing for these tiles, but like, oh man, who's the first one to grab one of those? That's going to score a lot of points. So I definitely dug that. All right, now what did you guys not like about the game? Let's start with you, Jess.
To be honest, there wasn't really much I didn't like about it. But,
Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to not like anything.
Yeah.
How about you, Anna?
Okay, so for me, when I play something like SimCity, part of like what I get kind of like my fix on is I build like a little park around like, you know, a bunch of residential zones, and then I just watch those residential zones fill up, and like it's like, oh, people are liking the city. People are, like what I guess what I'm getting at is that is an intrinsic reward like of actually building something, and I felt that this game got your payoff at the very end. That you're essentially laying down tiles, but you're not really thinking about, like, you're not really getting those tiny little payoffs that you would in a city building game, like to feel like someone's enjoying the space that you've built up, right? So the thing that I loved was being able to, like, you know, when you build something, you get the payoff of like having these particular resources, and then you can actually put them around. Like this is the reason why I really love that feature, because it felt like it's a shop. Oh great, I'm gonna put like a bunch of people in there. I wanted there
You're
to
saying
be
like it all
more,
kind of pays off at the end, at the very, very end.
Yes, at the very end. And it's like expressed in points, whereas I wanted it to be expressed a little bit more in the kinds of things that it unlocked for you while you were playing. It felt like work a little bit too much rather than an exciting, like, you know, something like a mechanic that I was excited about.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I like that kind of build up to, like, did everything work out how I wanted, right? Like, ooh, I finally have my row of 4 harbors, or I got the parks and residential buildings built up just perfectly. So I kind of enjoy that, but I also kind of feel like, despite the art, and I really like the art. For me, it's like, I don't know, it's hard to kind of define the personality of this game, right? Like, I'm not sure. Like, if you were to ask me, like, oh, just tell me in 1 minute why this game is great, I'm like, I don't know. You build cities and you're working towards points. Like, I don't know. There's something a little bit soulless about the way you take these tiles and the way you place them, because it's very, I might be saying the same thing you are in a different way, of where it's very mechanical.
It's abstract.
Yeah, it's abstract, but not, there are abstract board games that are awesome, but this way, I don't know if I think a lot. It's just sort of like, right, once I find the right place, there's like only a few logical places to put it. So I don't have a lot of creativity. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is like in building a city.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's get to the conclusions. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna each roll a d20 die. You guys know the drill. And this is how many words you're gonna get to make your final thoughts on the game. That's a good roll, 18.
Wow, actually it makes it harder.
Yeah.
No, I'd rather have like few words. All right, we're back. Anna, I don't think you're quite done. You're like, oh, let everyone else order first. Get back to me.
Yeah.
Finish. And Jess, off camera, you were beaming with happiness when you were finished. It was like, this is like the biggest challenge you've two ever.
It is.
Like filling out your
18
10
words.
and 18 words.
A lot of words.
All right. So, Jess, you rolled the highest at 18. What did you write?
All right, so I said, although it doesn't quite capture the city building spirit, Quadropolis is an elegant and fun tile placement game.
Cool. All right, I rolled a 14. I wrote fun, colorful art, interesting drafting, but placing tiles is very mechanical. Overall, not bad. Anna, it is your turn.
Oh dear, I'll have the fish.
You rolled a 10.
I have a 10. All right, here we go. Ready? Slick design. Too few management mechanics. My turns took forever.
That is true.
All right, well, thanks. All right, now we're going to vote. If the game gets unanimous loves, which are 2 thumbs, we will give it a platinum award. It has not happened yet on the show. So if you love it, give it 2 thumbs up. Like it, you're okay with it, or a meh, you don't like it. All right, so on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, 1 like and 2 mehs. I think that was what we did last episode for Adrenaline. All right, thanks guys. Appreciate your time on this. Now, people should know we're not going to do Sean Baby this episode because we're going to save them for the comparison discussion 2 videos from now. But next, stick around. You guys are going to help me review Between Two Cities, which is another SimCities game. So everyone should stay tuned. We're going to do Between Two Cities next.